All right, Tamara, you want to get us started?
Okay, I'm Dr. Tamara Dawson. I am going to introduce you to this session's presenter. It's Natasha Brand, and she serves as the Virtual Campus Student Success Specialist at Northeastern Oklahoma A&M College in Miami, Oklahoma. She develops digital resources with a focus on universal design for learning and accessibility, which is aimed at improving the online student experience. Natasha is also the co-chair of the Cole Accessibility Committee and serves on AbleTech's Advisory Council. She has experience in differentiation, student success, and well-being, and skill and acquisition modification, spanning education, athletics, and public health. She's passionate about creating an inclusive and supportive environment for all students. Natasha has undergraduate degrees in community wellness and human and family science from NEO and NSU, and a master's in adapted movement science from the University of Arkansas. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Natasha for our session on how-to session on documents.
Thank you. Let's hope this one goes just a little better than the last one. Okay, can everybody hear my slides and see my slides and hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, perfect. All right, so we're going to get into this how-to session with some PDF basics. We'll just be discussing PDF today because the session just isn't long enough to get into Microsoft Word, but hopefully some of the information that you've received from the other sessions has covered a few of those questions. So the order for the workshop is we're going to look at why accessibility matters real quick, the tools you'll need, and then into the step-by-step PDF check with some of the basic remediation techniques. And then if we have time, we'll have a little Q&A. So thank you again for joining us. And this workshop's designed for those who may not have any prior knowledge of PDF accessibility. So don't worry if it's your first time exploring. By the end of the session, you will have the skills to perform an accessibility check on a PDF and just make some of the basic fixes to ensure it's inclusive for all users. So feel free to ask questions as we go along, but we'll also have a quick Q&A at the end. So if you have a question, either just take yourself off mute or pop it in the box. I'm not following the chat box though, so hopefully Crystala will address any questions. Okay, so just a quick recap. I know we've gone over this plenty today. Just let's start with why accessibility is so important. And firstly, there are the legal obligations, such as the Americans with Disabilities Act and Section 504 and 508, which require that all digital content be accessible. And then beyond the legal side, it's about creating equal opportunities for students with disabilities to access the same information as everyone else. So we want to think of an accessibility as part of inclusive teaching practices, that it benefits everyone, not just those using assistive technologies. So the primary tool that you'll need today is Adobe Acrobat Pro DC. It's a paid software, but most institutions, including ours, provide licenses for the faculty and staff. But if you haven't got it, just feel free to follow along as I have the document pulled up. So for Pro, you can download it from Adobe's website if it's not already installed on your computer. And like I said, make sure you're using Pro and not the free Acrobat Reader, as the free one doesn't have the tools we need. Another side note there is if you are viewing, even if you do have Pro and you are viewing in the browser, you can't access the accessibility options from the browser. You have to use the desktop. So just a few tips there. So let's go ahead and address some of the most common issues you're going to encounter in this workshop on the PDF and how to fix them. So many times the PDF might have a missing document title. It might have an improper reading order, which means that the screen reader can't read it. The example earlier about the newspaper, you would be going from the bottom to the top and maybe to the middle and all over the place if you don't have the proper reading order. And then untagged content, which addresses the reading order, and images without alternative text. So those are the common ones that we're going to look at today in this workshop. So we're going to get hands-on. My next slide, I have screen recorded the process with the PDF. So I may have to just pause that if there's any questions. So you might just have to bear with me. So first steps, if you are following along, we're going to open up Acrobat Pro and get the PDF open that was supplied in the reminder for the conference materials. And then I'm just going to run through these steps before we actually go through to the actual PDF. So we're going to run an accessibility check to start with by accessing the Tools menu in the top menu, and then we're going to prepare for accessibility. So we're going to then use the accessibility checker. So we're just going to check for accessibility in this first step. So I'm going to go across to the video. I'm just going to pause it for a second while we access these steps. Okay, so we've got our PDF pulled up here. Hopefully, if you're all following along, we are going to find all tools in the left top menu. And then I'm going to play now. Scroll down the left menu and click on View More until we find Prepare for Accessibility. And then from the Prepare menu, we're going to check for accessibility. Make sure all the boxes are checked, and then click on Start Check-in. So this will bring a dialog box up. The accessibility checker is now on the right-hand menu. So the sidebar lists all the issues, and you can right-click on each one to the fix. So it just highlighted that the tagged PDF section failed here. So that is where we're going to start on the next part of the video. You can also check the security of the document, as this can interfere with the screen readers, and that is, you would fix the permission flag to no security if necessary. We're not going to cover that in the next video though. So I'll just give you a second in case you're following along with this, just to get to this point in time. We're not going to right click anything just yet. And then we'll move into the next slide where we're going to start. Does anyone have any questions on this part before we move on? Okay, so just a little bit to cover on this document. This is just a really, really basic example that has some errors hidden within it. I know you wouldn't usually bother to fix a PDF if it was this simple. You would go back to your original document if it was a Word document and fix things there, or create a new one using styles and headings, and you can do alt text and make sure that the document is correct before you save it to a PDF. So this is an awful lot of work for a simple PDF, but it's just to highlight a few of the sequences. So we'll move on to the next slide, which is part one with the basic remediation techniques. And we're going to look at the tagging and reading order, and these are super important because if it fails, if the rule check fails, the document isn't tagged to specify the correct reading order. So just to go over before we go to the next video, we're going to go back to the All Tools menu again and select automatically tagging our PDF. So I'm going to go to the next video. I'm sorry, that didn't go along to the next one. Apologise. Okay, so here we are at the last point from the first video where we were looking at the fact that the tagged PDF failed. So we're going to go across to the left menu and automatically tag our PDF. And then we will see that the tag tree comes up on the right-hand side. So we're just going to look at a couple of the basic things that we can fix in the tag tree. And the tag tree kind of works like headings do in Microsoft Word. You look at the second one here, this is heading 4. We have P that stands for paragraph, which is like the body in a Microsoft Word document. And then you may see L, which stands for a list. We have a list here in this document, but we're not actually going to probably have time to get into how to fix the list today. So we will be looking at the document and the headings and the alt text and the reading order in this part. So I'm just going to press play again. We've highlighted the whole document here. This shouldn't actually say part, so we're going to right click on the little icon next to, and it will pop up with the object properties. So this is actually the document. So we want to change part to document in this list and then hit close. So when we highlight the document, that's the heading that we want if it's in there wrong. And then the next part we're going to go down to is the heading. Again, we're going to right click. I'm going to go down to properties. Pops up exactly the same box, and we can see that it's heading level 4. And we know, since this is a title, that it should be heading level 1. We will choose that and then close the pop-up box. Going to highlight through the rest of the list so you can see we've got the first body introduction, the list, which is in fact tagged wrongly as paragraphs. Just go back up again, and we can see that it missed the image. So the image isn't recognized. Okay. Now we're going to look across to the left-hand side menu again and go ahead and fix the reading order now that we've looked down through the tags. So we've selected reading order in the left menu, which pops up a panel. And then we click show order on the panel, and that has brought up a new menu with the order on the right-hand side. We have all of the objects in the document highlighted, and we can see that it's missed the image. So I'm going to put the crosshairs all around the image till it closes the box, and then go back into the pop-up box and hit figure. You'll see that there's no alt text that exists, but we're going to address that in the next video. So looking at the reading order, we can see that the image has been tagged number 1, which is not in the correct order. So we're going to go into our order, right click, and move it right down there where it needs to be. If we look back over at the document now, we can see that it is numbered in the correct reading order. We can recheck the accessibility and then move on to the next problems. We have to actually manually check the logical reading order ourselves, so we'll change that to pass. And then we can move on to part 2. Does anyone have any questions on this part with the tagging and the reading order? Okay. We can always answer some more questions at the end. So now we're going to move along to the slightly easier part now of making sure there is a title and adding alt text. So back to the video, we're at the same place we just ended in video 2, and I've got my little cursor over where it says the title failed. We're going to right click on it and click fix. Unselect leave as is in the box, and then type our document title in, and then click OK. We'll fix the primary language while we're here as well, because that's a quick fix. The pop-up box, you just selected English. Right click. We're going to click on alt text and open it out, and we can see our figure where the alt text failed. We're going to right click on that and hit fix. If it was decorative, we could click decorative figure. We're going to add some alt text here, and then hit save and close. We haven't addressed the color contrast in this, and this is another thing that needs a manual check, but in the previous presentations, it's talked about there are color contrast checkers that are available free on the net, so you could go there and test if it was a more complex PDF than we're working with. So the final step is just to run the accessibility check again and make sure everything in the accessibility checker has passed. And then that really is the final step, which brings us to the end of the workshop. So I think we have a few minutes for questions if you have any. And if you would like to dive deeper into accessibility in documents, I'd highly recommend Able Text Training, and Adobe's accessibility resource is really good and highlights everything that we just did in the videos. Thanks for participating, and the slides for this will be available after the conference, and the instructions are there, all available in the slides and in a text document. And just have a couple of resource links there with AbleTech and Adobe, and WebAIM have a great accessible document training as well, which I would highly recommend looking at. Thank you, everyone.